Some people are just born to split opinion. Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're going to be counting down our picks for the top 10 most controversial Piers Morgan interviews. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at the fiercest disputes involving broadcaster, journalist, and all-around troublemaker Piers Morgan. From brief spats to drawn-out debates. Doesn't matter which side of the debates you're on, you just can't help but watch the pure carnage. Number 10, Fox and Owl.
You want to be non-gender, non-binary?
No, not non-gender.
What's the difference?
During an interview with two guests on Good Morning Britain who identify as non-binary, it was clear that Piers had made up his mind from the get-go. The idea was that his guests, Fox and Owl, would educate viewers on gender identification, but Piers had other plans.
Is anything fine? I mean, can I be anything I want? Can I be an elephant? Can I literally say, I'm now an elephant, and do I get afforded elephant rights?
Not only did he bombard them with question after question, refusing to pause for breath and to hear their response, but he ridiculed the idea of gender identification by proposing that he himself identified as an elephant and should therefore be given the same rights as elephants. Naturally, his guests were not happy.
They've heard you guys talking about being non-binary. They think it's cool.
It's not about being cool, it's about an inner sense of self.
Number 9, 12-year-old trophy hunter.
With respect, Mr. Gordon, with respect, there's not a shred of remorse in your daughter's face in these pictures.
Piers' blunt line of questioning has become somewhat legendary, and in this interview with a 12-year-old hunter and her father, Piers showed that he does not discriminate when it comes to age.
Where is that remorse? Because from where I'm looking, there's just a kind of sickening sense of glory and triumphalism about killing these great animals.
Discussing the moral ramifications of big game hunting, Piers questions whether it's right for the father to be teaching his daughter that taking the lives of animals is okay. After 12-year-old Ariana explains that she likes providing fresh meat for her family, Piers hits her with a daunting question about her pet cat.
How would you feel if I came to your house one day and I hunted down your pet cat and I killed it, and I then posted pictures of me celebrating the slaughter of your pet cat?
As Ariana and her father laugh off the question, Piers does not look very impressed.
We would never think to go out and kill somebody's pet.
No, I'm sure it wouldn't. But if you did, you would do it with remorse.
Number 8, Monroe Bergdorf.
When 76 children at one school in a town like Brighton between 11 and 16 no longer wish to identify as male or female, I think this is a complete and utter nonsense, and worse, a dangerous nonsense.
Another gender debate next, with Piers and Monroe Bergdorf locking horns on the gender identification of children aged 11 to 16. After Piers reveals that a school report on equality suggests that a large number of children do not identify with their gender or identify as gender fluid, the two debate about whether encouraging gender self-identification at a young age is a good idea.
Is it possible they've all just latched on to a fad that is getting more and more attention, and they are basically having their minds turned?
Piers is enraged at the thought of it and suggests that the children who were questioned could merely be latching onto a fad. Monroe disagrees.
And what would you do if you had a gender-neutral child or a gender-non-conforming, non-binary
I'd say,
child?
I would say to them, what does this mean? What do you mean gender fluid?
Things are taken up another notch when Piers and Bergdorf wrestle over the matter of the word woman being banned, or adapted to be more inclusive, according to Bergdorf, in universities in London.
You can use all the long words you like at me, right? The bottom line is they have stopped using the words women and woman in publication.
Number 7, the dating guru.
Telling women that you're potentially going to date that they're entitled, overweight and moan all the time.
I wasn't telling them that at the time, obviously.
Everyone has their preference when it comes to finding people attractive, but dating coach Richard LaRuina doesn't pull any punches when it comes to his. During his time on GMB, Richard gave his opinion on the attractiveness of British women, labelling them as entitled and overweight. Susanna Reid jumps in to share her 2 cents. But it doesn't take long for Piers to chime in shortly after.
Your mother's English, right?
Yes, she is.
So does she also qualify as unattractive, stupid, entitled and the rest of it, or is she an exception?
Questioning his views, Piers asks him if his British mother also falls into the same framework.
No, let's hear you be brutally honest.
Well, I don't want to be baited into
you're full of this.
Piers then asks his guest to critique the British women sat next to him, to which he refuses to do as it would be rude. Piers calls him a dick.
I think you are right to seek your future in Russia, because I think the chances of you ever having sex in this country again are zero.
Number 6, the Churchill debate.
Which I know that 95%, probably more of our viewers, will be looking at what you're saying, hearing what you're saying, with utter revulsion.
Watching Piers defend someone tooth and nail is a little unusual, but that's exactly what we get in this interview with Scottish politician Ross Greer. Following comments by Greer that states the former wartime Prime Minister was a white supremacist and mass murderer, Piers takes the fight to him and scrutinises his views.
What is funny about any of this? What is funny about your attempts to smear the reputation of a great leader like Winston Churchill?
It doesn't take long for the debate to get heated, and Piers is visibly enraged when Greer laughs off his comments and brings in matters relating to his time at the Daily Mirror. Ultimately, it becomes a shouting contest with either party refusing to back down.
I never apologised because the abuse happened. I then sat down with General Nick Carter, the head of the British Army, several years ago in northern France, and he told me that I was right to publish what I published.
Number 5, Angelina Duplicia.
You're 36 years old, you're 5'4", you're 380 pounds, 27.1 stone, and your BMI is 64.6.
When a controversial Miley Cyrus music video hit the internet, a lot of people were quick to criticize its inappropriate nature. A heap of criticism was aimed at plus-size model Angelina Duplicia, who appeared in the video and, according to critics, was helping glamorize morbid obesity.
I think there is a trend now, with Tess Holliday and now you, of glamorizing morbid obesity, which actually is dangerous.
Piers questioned her decision to not lose weight, claiming that it sends the wrong message and idealizes obesity. She responded by saying she was happy with her weight and accused Piers of fat shaming.
Well, okay, I'm 220 pounds and I'm 6'1", right? You're 5'4" and you're 380 pounds. So there is a difference. I'm not morbidly obese.
Right, but you're still fat too.
She then went on to call Piers fat, suggesting that he take himself off air to avoid further glamorization of obesity. Number 4, Skeena Rathor.
Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old girl with autism, becoming the face of all this and screaming abuse at adults.
The climate change protests by Extinction Rebellion in London has been a hot topic with locals due to the mass disruption they've caused. But to many, it is the necessary police support that such protests attract that is of real concern.
Hang on. They're just having a good old party, look.
When Extinction Rebellion co-leader Skeena Rathor visited the GMB studios, Piers questioned the usefulness of climate change protests and the hypocrisy of its advocates, stating police should be solving crime and not policing said protests. The debate between Rathor and Piers is back and forth, until Piers questions whether or not Rathor has a TV, and then things get a little out of control.
Have you got a TV at home? Have you?
Can you tell me the point?
Sorry, hang on, just answer my question.
Her reluctance to answer the question and Piers' refusal to move past it leave us at a bit of a stalemate.
So why don't you give up your computers,
It's not about my
give up
carbon
your
footprint.
television,
It's not
give
about
up your air
car-
conditioning, walk your kids to school, get a bike to the studio. Why don't you practice what you preach?
Can I respond to that,
Yes.
Piers?
Number 3, Alexander Nekrasov.
Because what he meant by kick the bucket is we're going to have these people killed. And guess what? A lot of people have been killed.
When the Salisbury poisoning involving a former Russian military officer and his daughter took place on March 2018, news outlets everywhere were quick to blame Russia. In this interview with Alexander Nekrasov, Piers questions that suspicion and asks him what Putin meant when he said that Russian traitors would kick the bucket.
This is a conversation where he condemns traitors.
As he continually tries to avoid the question, it merely encourages Piers to keep asking it. And eventually, Nekrasov loses his temper and starts to discuss matters of the Iraq War.
Your intelligence services lied to Parliament.
What does the phrase,
that
kick
Iraq
the
has
bucket
weapons
mean?
of mass destruction.
But Piers does eventually get an answer to his question, to which he thanks him for.
What does kick the bucket mean?
Well, first of all, I'm telling you that he means they will die because they will die
Thank you very
of
much
themselves.
Number 2, Benjamin Butterworth.
You want me to respect all those 100 genders, however ludicrous some of them are, but you have zero respect for my right to identify myself in any way I see fit.
Piers takes a lot on the chin for his controversial views, but when a petition was circulated on social media calling for him to be sacked from GMB, he wanted to hash things out and defend his post.
I have rarely been subjected to more foul abuse on social media than I have in the last few days since his campaign started against me.
After Piers claimed he identified as a penguin in order to critique gender identification, British journalist Benjamin Butterworth hit out at his mocking nature. And the two went head-to-head in this interview, with Butterworth claiming that Piers is sending a message of negativity out to younger audiences.
And if it takes me to say, on television, get away from this ridiculous control freakery stuff that no one's allowed to challenge it, if it's to me that says that, I'm going to say it. And you're not going to stop me, and you're not going to get me fired.
But Piers was furious, claiming that Butterworth wasn't allowing him to voice his own opinion on the matter. And when the issue of transgender athletes is brought up, things don't get any more civilized.
I won't play into the demonisation of trans people.
Trans people don't transition anymore. That's the problem.
Number 1, Dan Roberts.
What can possibly justify anyone being able to buy 42 weapons, many of which were high-powered, semi-automatic rifles?
Ah yes, Piers Morgan and Dan Roberts. These two have been arguing over gun laws for quite some time, with Piers taking the stance that guns should be banned in America. And following the Las Vegas shooting of 600 people, tensions were high.
The man just shot 600 people. Of course, they're high-powered. We heard the bullets go off ourselves.
In this interview, Roberts argues that the rifle used in the Vegas incident was not high-powered and that guns are not the issue.
How can any of this make sense, Dan? What are you going to do about this?
This leads Piers on a tirade about American gun laws and the ridiculousness that Kinder Eggs were banned, but not guns. Suffice to say, they didn't come to an agreement at the end of it all.
Don't laugh, Dan. It's not funny. 600 people got shot.
No, it is funny. Your example is ridiculous.
Right. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo UK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.